Hi, and welcome to the Waistline Podcast. If you would like to be a guest on the Waistline Podcast, email me at waistlinepodcast@gmail.com. Thank you so much to everyone who signed up for the calls this week. I think I have like 15 calls over 3 days. It's going to be a busy week of calls. A lot of great new episodes for you coming soon, and I'm very excited to talk to you. So if you'd like to talk to me, email me waistlinepodcast@gmail.com. You don't have to have lost 100 pounds. You could just be starting. Maybe you're looking for motivation to start. Whatever the case may be, I'd love to talk to you. And that's sort of what this episode's going to be about. Like I said, I have a very busy week of interviews, and I just wanted to do a quick episode this week talking. I'll give you a little update on myself. And actually, let's start there. So last week I lost 1.2 pounds. I'm down to 214.8 and 121.2 pounds lost. And that sometimes people say that I don't give myself credit, and it's sort of like, and there's no judgment here. I guess there is a little bit of judgment, and I don't mean there to be. But sometimes when I hear like an athlete or a musician or someone is clean off of a substance, I have to admit that sometimes they're like, well, they're not supposed to be on that. Why are they like being called a hero? But I think it's a little bit, now that I talk about it, it's a little bit short-sighted of me, because I was just lucky enough to not have that issue. I wouldn't like it very much if someone said, well, you weren't supposed to eat all those cheeseburgers, so you're not supposed to have to lose 120 pounds. And they would be right. So I'm ashamed a little bit that I used to think that way. But I do give myself credit that I lost that amount of weight, losing 121 pounds, 121.2, just because we're being specific, is something I am very happy about and proud of myself about. But I've noticed over the last month or so, and it's something that I've talked about on my Patreon, is I have found myself getting a little bit more lax, and not even lax. It's like only way I can describe it, if you're out there and maybe you don't have a weight issue, is sort of how I think a lot of people feel when it comes to the pandemic. And if you're listening to this in the future, this is September of 2021. Pandemic's been going on since February or March of 2020. And so that's about 18 months, a year and a half. And at this point in the pandemic, I don't know, I don't think I'm alone in feeling this way. It's getting a little bit old. And that's a very funny way to say it, or a relaxed way to say it, after hundreds of thousands of people passed away and people have lost businesses, all of that. But on just a very basic level, I think a lot of people are just getting sick of the whole thing. They don't want to be home anymore. They don't want to have to wear masks. They want to be able to go to the events they want to go to. They don't want to have to get the vaccine, and now there's a boost. Like, they're just sick of it. There's no other better way to put it. And I feel like that's happened to me a lot in past diets. I know people hate that word, but frankly, I'm a little bit tired, and it's a diet. Everything, any way anyone eats is a diet, but anytime I've tried to eat healthier, I'll just say that, it's gone to a point where you get sick of it. I was watching Patrice O'Neal, his last special, Elephant in the Room. He has a joke where he said every time he tried to lose weight, he'd be like, I have to do that tomorrow. It's a very real thing. And there's definitely a lot of fatigue when it comes to that. I think that's, just trying to be as honest as possible with you guys. I miss the food that I used to eat. I'm not depressed. I'm a little. If you're like, oh, Lee sounds like he's sad. I'm just a little tired today. I just had like a 2-hour phone call. But it gets annoying to hold back or to limit myself. I don't like going to, like, last night I got Chinese, but I got chicken mushu, and I didn't eat it with the wrappers. Instead of what I wanted to get, like General Gao's chicken, or um, going out for my girlfriend's birthday, and we would go to an Italian place, and I ended up getting something that tasted pretty good. It was a grilled chicken with pasta and veggies, and I usually don't have pasta, so it was still really delicious, but 2 or 3 people had chicken parmesan. And it's not even close, would I have rather had chicken parmesan. But I get this question a lot when it comes to losing weight. And a lot of people I see, I'm a part of groups. There's a group on Facebook called like Dad Bod Lifestyle, something to that effect. If you just put in losing weight, there's a lot of really helpful groups when it comes to this topic. And I see that question over and over and over again. It's like, how do you motivate yourself to do this? And it's kind of annoying. Unfortunately, I mean, yeah, it is. I just being honest with you. I mean, as someone who's didn't care at all, and it's not that I didn't care. I would always want to be skinnier, but I wasn't doing anything about it. In fact, I was actively going the other way. And what I would say to that, and I really hope that people feel comfortable listening to this podcast, and I'm more attacking myself than I am you, so please don't feel like I'm attacking you if you're in this position. My answer to anyone who said, like, how do you motivate yourself to do it, is I don't really know if you can. I think you just, at least personally, I just sort of reached a point where I just was sick of how I was living. And yeah, like medical stuff could happen. Maybe you have a heart attack. Maybe it's clothes not fitting. Maybe a girl breaks up with you, a guy breaks up with you, whatever. I don't think there's anything specifically that you can do. I don't think you could be like, well, set your alarm really early and buy a shirt. I can't tell you how many medium shirts I bought that I don't even know if I doubt I even have anymore. I personally think there's just, at least for me, a switch that got flipped, and I just have to do it. And when it comes to me being a little bit more lax about my eating recently, it does scare me a little bit. Luckily I have this podcast and I have my Patreon where I feel accountable to you and to the Patreon people. And I really think that might be, I guess, the only way to really do it is be accountable in some way. There's something I really wish I had done, and I don't even know if it's still around anymore, and they're not a sponsor. It's called Healthy Wage, and let's see if they're even still here. I can Google it pretty quickly. I know how to type Healthy Wage. Yeah, it's still there. So it's something where you can put, like, you have to take a video, and like you have to prove that you are a certain size. But you basically are betting that you're going to lose a certain amount of weight in a certain amount of time. So, like, I would say I'm 5'3", I say I'm 5'4". I'm probably 5'3.5". 1 second. And then I would say, okay, well, I'm if I had done it when I should have when I started, I'm 336 pounds, and in a year I want to be 236 pounds. Let's just say. And then I would say, okay, well, I'm willing to bet $100 a month, and that would be $1,200. And I think it's somewhere around like 75% to 100%. So you would win. Maybe you might double it. I think it changes based off how much weight you have to lose and how much weight you're willing to bet you're going to lose. The rates change, but because I know not everyone has a podcast or has a Patreon group, something like that I think would be very helpful if you're motivated by money, which I definitely am. But it's good. I've never done it, and I've tried to lose weight so many times that it's good I didn't do it before. But whether it's healthy wage, if you do something with your friends or family, you join a Facebook group and do it with someone you don't even really know. That, and I guess everyone's different, so it might not work for you, but for me, being accountable to someone other than myself is the only way it's ever worked for me. And the only reason, I'm just being honest with you, the only reason I've stuck with it to the extent that I have, like people are like, oh, Lee, you have willpower. No, I don't. I just don't want to look bad in front of you people. That's real. I mean, I should want to do it for myself and my health and my future family with this and I'm just being. I'd love to say that I care, and I do. I like fitting into smaller clothes. I like looking better in pictures. It's all great. That part is like, unfortunately, the cherry on top for me. That stuff is all a bonus. But there's something in my brain with food that I would love right now to go to McDonald's. I can't tell you. I've been craving fast food. I know it's probably not going to be good. Candy. Halloween's coming up. I would kill a baby elephant for some candy. That sounds mean, but I don't know what I'd do. I would do something. What would you do for a Klondike bar? I don't know. Kick a baby elephant in the knee. This is supposed to be a nice podcast. Obviously, I'm not anywhere near elephant babies. I'm not gonna kick a baby anything, but I'm just I think this is something that I wanted. The reason why I'm doing this episode is because I wanted to really show what it's like losing weight. It's not always going to be easy, and you're not always going to feel motivated and oh, this cauliflower rice is delicious. What happened to pasta? Well, if you don't want to look like a jerk in front of the people on the podcast, Lee, maybe you shouldn't have pasta tonight. And like I said, that should not be my only reason not to do this. And I need to figure out how to when I'm done losing the weight, and whether the Patreon stays or whether in 10 years, if this podcast doesn't exist, there needs to be reasons other than those two things for me to continue being healthy. But at this moment, I got inspired to do this. I just saw one of those posts. How do you motivate yourself to? I eat well, but then I eat candy at night. Well, you got to stop eating candy at night, man. I mean, there's no. What do you mean that motivate yourself? I don't get. I mean, I get it. You just got to learn to say no, or I can't right now. And trust me, I struggle with that on an hourly basis. The stupid office that I'm in, they put out chips and candy every day. I walk past the reception office and there's free candy and chips. I would have gained 100 pounds just coming to work here. If it was the old, I've walked by that. I think I've been here for, let's see, it's September. I think I've been here for like 6 months. if I would have gained probably 100 pounds, and I in the 6 months that I've been here, I've gotten 2 pieces of candy. I've gotten a Butterfinger and a Kit Kat. And they're not the big ones. They're like the miniature ones. I would have been best friends with the receptionist just because there's candy up there. I would have gone 2 or 3 times. They would have already spoken to me like, Lee, listen, you're really not paying enough in rent. We're losing money on how much candy you're eating. And it's just, if you're out there and you're thinking about starting, or you're currently losing weight, all I can say is keep going. It is worth it. If you're having trouble starting, you have to have like a talk with yourself, or really think and just be like, what will make me do this? Because motivation fades, I think. Oh, I gotta look good for my vacation. Well, what happens after the vacation? And whether it's accountability or you're just sick of it, whatever the case may be, there has to be something else there for you. And I hope you can find it. And I wish everyone the best of luck. And I really do think this is something worthwhile for you to do. It's something worthwhile for me to do. But the point of this episode is just to be honest and to be upfront, and just, if you're out there, you're like, wow, I've been doing it for 6 months and I've lost 40 pounds and that feels great, but sick of turkey. You're not alone. You're not alone. And I think it's more normal, and I think something that I was maybe guilty of in the past episodes of this podcast is not being as upfront with my struggles. And they happen. But I also think those are normal. And something that I'm guilty of in my life is when I hit a hard, rough path or a struggle or any resistance, I'm like, well, it's done now. Like, oh, might as well go get a dozen donuts and a bag of Fritos. And I'm trying to be more resilient and keep going. And I'm going to keep going. We'll know next week how much weight I've lost. I think I'm going to lose weight this week. It's going to be kind of close, but I think I should have lost weight. And that's it. I know a lot of you probably don't have the desire to do a podcast, or you're like, no one's going to listen. The fact that I do this every week, and it's basically like, you guys are my therapist and you just don't know it, and you're not charging me for it. I'm really talking to myself right now, and it actually really did help. This time really did help me. So thank you for putting up with me whining for 20 minutes. But if you're looking for motivation out there, I hope you find it. I hope maybe you're different than I am, but I don't think it's going to be something magical that falls out of the sky. I think it's going to be something within yourself that just switches, or you have someone that's holding you accountable, or whatever it is. There has to be something that changes. It's not one little thing that's gonna one little thing, and my mom got scared. No, there has to be something more significant for you to do it, and I hope you find it. So thank you so much for watching and listening to this week's Waistline podcast. Like I said, I have I think around 15 people doing calls with me this week. If you're one of them, thank you so much, and I look forward to speaking with you. And if you would like to be a future guest on the Waistline podcast, email me, waistlinepodcast@gmail.com. Thank you very much for watching and listening, and I'll be back next week with another Waistline podcast.